Back on Newsmaker Sunday with my guests, attorney Jose Penalosa and Antonio Bustamante. They are both very active in the immigration issue, obviously both immigration attorneys, and Antonio also a criminal defense attorney. Let's go through a couple of these things that the president is talking about. He's talking about a raise for ICE agents. That's one of the 10 points in the plan. Raising the wage for ICE agents. What's going on there? Is he trying to buy their silence so they don't oppose it, or what's he doing here? What's the plan there?
I understand that there's a lot of there's resentment among the ranks. There's low morale.
I've heard this a lot,
and that this might improve the situation, given that the policies that will ease the immigration dilemma call for holding back on the vigorous enforcement these people were trained to engage in.
Right. So. This is saying we're going to work with you and a little money sweetens the pot a little bit.
Probably. I don't know if the president would put it that way, but that's what it seems like.
It sounded to me a little bit like that. Expanding high-tech visas. Now this would call for working with the State Department to expand visas for foreign-born workers with high-tech skills. Are you dealing with these clients?
I don't particularly deal with that in my particular practice. I deal with the bread and butter issue, the court defense work. But I do have fellow attorneys that are interested in that work. They do that type of work. And what we're doing is we're lacking those STEM type qualified candidates to stay here in this country. So we have folks that come from outside of the country, go to ASU, U of A, for example, graduate mechanical engineering, and they're left out. We lose them. And so we need those folks here. If they establish a loyalty here, they know our language, and they're willing to assimilate, and they're willing to be productive members of our society.
Strengthen border security. Antonio, this is the one that Republicans have got to have to feel good about all this.
And one can throw more money at it and feel like you're doing something, but folks don't understand, and what many Republicans refuse to admit is the border is so shut down. Go down to the border, Nogales or San Luis, and we will see across the 2,300 miles of that border.
It's improved immensely.
I mean, no one can get in, no one can get out.
It's not completely secure. I wouldn't say that by any stretch of the imagination, because we keep having guys, you know, Arpaio's had a few who've been here 5, 6 times. So they're getting in and out and in and out. If
they pay astronomical amounts to coyotes, but try to get through by jumping that fence or getting through this non-existent barbed wire. The border is very secure. We can keep securing it and keep securing it. That's not the problem with our immigration policy.
It's the economic draw that brings people here, right?
That's absolutely correct, but the standard has to be, we have different ports. In San Diego, they have 90% apprehension rate. In Yuma, 90% apprehension rate. And that's the standard that we need to work. And if both parties are fine with that standard, we need to establish that apprehension rate here in Arizona and down through Texas. And that is real border security when you have that 90% apprehension rate. And whatever it takes to get there is what's best interest of this country, because we're also talking about stopping drugs to come into this country. It's just not undocumented people coming here, it's drugs.
The president also in this 10 points, prioritize deportations for serious criminals. Isn't that kind of already going on?
Yes.
That's really where the administration's put its focus. We're going to deport criminals, that's what they've said. For people who are working here and basically doing the right thing, we're not going to get exercised about that. We're not going to spend a lot of time and resources on it. You think that's been the right approach?
Absolutely. When you talk to citizens here in this country who know undocumented folks, they understand that there are laws that need to be enforced, but not my friend who I know, or not my gardener, not my nanny. They're wonderful, hardworking, industrious, beautiful people. Well, guess what? That's what the vast majority of the 11.5 million are.
Jose, how would you, if we go down this road, let's say the president does this, which we believe he will do, let's say Congress then maybe takes it up at some point. How do we know we're not going to be right back here in 20 years with the same issues? That it will finally, once and for all, be over with, this discussion?
Well, I believe, number one, it's going to start with the 90% apprehension rate across the ports. Number two, we need to have practical amendments here. For example, we need to be able to bring in farm workers here, seasonal workers. We need to do number
expanded green cards.
Expand green cards for high-tech people. And number four, perhaps limit the amount of visas that you're able to use to bring in. For example, if I wanted to immigrate my brother, limit that to just my parents and my spouse and children. So those are practical ways to solve this problem. And of course, a lot of people advocate E-Verify. But there's a lot of multiples in there, a lot of factors in there, and I believe this is an issue that we're always going to address because we're one of the best countries in the world. We have to recognize that. People yearn to come here, and we have to have an efficient system that needs to be managed over time to adjust that fluctuation to meet our national interests.
Take a break here on Newsmaker Sunday. Some final thoughts here in a moment with our two guests talking about immigration reform via executive order that the president is apparently going to roll out here shortly. Back in a minute on Newsmaker Sunday.